If you were playing WoW and thought that the game suddenly got way easier, you're right. Imagine, for once, reality reflecting how we feel about things. This is crazy.
So boring.
So you can see here, first boss, 99.2. I don't even know how that isn't not everyone clearing it. Is that someone who's like only cleared the second boss? Wait, what?
What are you talking about?
Well, you know, the clear rate is...
Yeah.
I guess, no, that's people who will have logs.
That's guild, yeah.
That'll be guilds who have logs showing they've attempted a boss, but not having killed it.
Yeah.
On the first boss.
Yeah.
Fucking gnarl root's too much, bro. Gotta back off.
Like I said about the Mythic Zero being harder.
Well, in fairness,
Heroics being Mythic Zero level might be too hard for people.
We are, Matt, talking about the bottom 0.12%.
We are indeed.
Okay. Point is, the lines, the red and the green line, are extremely high. We actually see that Emir Drasil is easier than Aberrus. Now, you know, it could actually be that they're exactly the same, but there's been more power creep, and that's why but whatever. Functionally, you can see that Emir Drasil is easier with, on normal mode, 97.53% killing Farak. Of course, Farak, a ferocious, scary end boss.
He also had a legendary axe, so I'm sure that's probably part of why.
And boss of all time, yep. So, Jack says, what did Jack say? Now do this for a rating. So basically what Jack would be saying here is keep normal, make heroic a bit harder. Or maybe he's actually advocating
for Raid Plus.
For Raid Plus.
Yeah.
I'm on to you,
Probably
Jack.
would.
I'm on to you.
He probably would. So what's the graph? What would this look like then? That would just look, well, obviously they don't mean one for one. Obviously just mean like redistribute the difficulty a little bit.
Well, I think the thing is then you need to make,
because this would be like this would be LFR, normal, heroic, mythic. And it should be closer to LFR, normal, heroic, mythic. Theoretically.
Well,
which would be a terrible idea, and that would kill the game, but yes.
Yeah, there is a problem with this. As much as Jack says that, Blizzard just did the opposite. Like, Blizzard have literally just kept Emir Drasil way over here on Mythic. And then just moved heroic fucking beside normal.
That's what I'm saying. We're currently here, basically.
Yeah.
We're currently where this is what people do, and this is what sickos do.
No, delete all of these and only keep...
So that's what I mean,
Yeah, imagine if your dungeon difficulties were normal, heroic, and mythic plus 20.
Yeah.
That's what rating is like right
also
now.
There's LFR here.
Oh, yeah.
So this is roughly the equivalent, right? Technically speaking, it's a little bit closer to LFR, normal, heroic, mythic, but there is that case, like there is just that.
Like in essence,
it needs to be redistributed in some capacity.
I certainly agree with Jack. Now he is a significantly more high-end, competent player than I. But if even I average, you know, fucking manual mic to automatic Jack, even if I'm thinking that heroic is way too easy. And like the thing with Mythic is, we can't even go in Mythic because we would need to spawn new friends, and we don't want to do that. Yeah. We're actually happy with our friends in our social group. It's okay. We don't. And then of course this sort of dovetails. Oh wait, nah, Matt. It's okay. So here's the bit that's tricky about it. There's fundamentally always going to be a move from flex to no flex. However, if you were to put Mythic 10 directly on, you know, on that sort of horizontal difficulty, you know, dots, just between where heroic and Mythic raid is, put Mythic 10. Yep. Problem solved.
What?
Problem solved. Problem solved. Next segment. Done. I mean, definitely not. I guess inherently it's always going to be messy because at some point you need to move from flex to no flex.
Or do you? Yes, you do. No, you need to just remove flex easy. Just kill
Just kill the game.
Just ruin the game for everyone.
Just ruin it for yeah.
Yeah,
Or Heroic Plus. Just do Heroic Plus. Heroic. Just add monster power to Heroic. Incredible. And for every monster power up you go, all of your gear drops 1 upgrade level higher. Perfect. Amazing. Don't do that. It would be too much. Too confusing.
Yeah,
Our man's in deep thought.
I'm at a loss. I'll tell you why.
Game's doomed. Matt's at a loss. I'm just imagining, you know, the tweet that's like, it's all over. Tim Dog's left. Matt's at a loss. We're going home, folks.
It's all down to audience percentile stuff. And like training audiences. Because same with that, like with stuff, I feel like it's a better idea, but I'm also really worried about them ever making the game harder. Because every time we see the game being made easier, the numbers go up.
Okay.
And I feel really bad about like personally advocating for like Heroic should be harder, because Heroic is a fucking cakewalk for us like half the time. Nowhere near as bad as it is for like Mythic Bidders. But I'm just like, I can't say make another difficulty for me. I can't say that. And when I say me, I don't mean literally me.
What if you
I
did,
mean
though?
like for the players who are like me in the skill gap.
What if you did, though?
But I don't know if I should be catered to.
What is a word between heroic and mythic?
I'm sure someone who's good with ciphers could find out the...
No.
No.
That's loot.
No, because I was thinking of the Grand Blue difficulties where it goes easy, normal, hard, very hard, extreme, maniac, and proud. But
okay, very heroic.
So like maniac there.
Hello, we're doing very heroic raid tonight. Yeah, it's challenging. It's challenging.
Yeah, it feels complicated because I don't want to say make the game harder, even though I want it to be harder. Because every time I go into an LFR, I want to die. Because it's so mindlessly easy, but I know that's what people like. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, so we're at a challenge here. But I think like heroic raiding, which has always been harder than it has been in these past 2 tiers, it has always been a strong bedrock of the game. Yeah, it always has been, and it doesn't exist anymore. Because what Emir Drasil isn't it? But if we get loads of people into it now, and then we re-normalize it to its older level of difficulty, that's happened before, Matt. All of this has happened before, and all of this will happen again. Cylons, Matt! There's Cylons everywhere. No, this happened before.
I'm probably a Cylon.
Oh yeah, no, you're definitely a Cylon.
Yeah,
no, you're definitely a Cylon. But you suffer because you have human insight.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a rough deal, dude.
Yeah.
It's happened when we moved from Icecrown Citadel to Bastion of Twilight.
It's Cataclysm killed the game.
Cataclysm killed the game.
That's right.
Because what happened, right? You had 10 and 25 normal, and then you had 10 and 25 heroic. Back then. Now, back then, heroic, definitely harder, or well, you would say harder than an Emir Drasil heroic, easier than a mythic, though. But, you know, heroic is like the thing people would race. Just I know that, I mean, for half... The current name with Mythic has existed for half the game's life now. So we can no longer rely on people knowing
to say go back.
Yeah, we can no longer rely on people like being familiar with the system pre-WoD.
Fucking Legion babies, the lotties. The lotties, all of you fucking watchers.
Tisk.
All Legion babies. And then you go, how long was Legion ago? And then you immediately turn to dust as the answer is revealed to be 8 years.
Yes, they were watching Peppa Pig. We were raiding.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I'm very sorry.
Now they're raiding and we're watching the world burn.
So the way that it was back then is you had 10, 25, and then heroic 10, heroic 25. Now, 10 was easier than 25. So your difficulty modes were 10-man normal, 25-man normal is harder than that, 10 heroic is harder than that, 25 heroic is harder than that.
Actually,
so you had these 4 difficulties, and Go away, hand. You're not... No visual aids. You had 4 difficulty levels. That persisted into Icecrown Citadel. But then Blizzard collapsed 4 difficulty levels into 2 with the Cataclysm. Because in Cataclysm, they kept 10 normal, 25 normal, 10 heroic, 25 heroic. But they tried to make it so the 10 and 25 were the same level of difficulty. And what this meant is that for all the people who really enjoyed Icecrown 10, well, for them, 10 just got harder, and it no longer suited their playstyle. This is, I mean, literally something that impacted a guild like I was in. A guild, I mean, it's, I suppose when you have an A team and a B team for Icecrown Citadel, there's like maybe a bit of a worry there that you're like, it's always hard when kind of different teams of different sort of competencies exist, or not even competencies, just levels of giving a fuck exist. But, well, suffice to say, there were issues. I never made it onto Drama Time, sadly.
Unfortunately.
I probably threw in with the wrong lot. But then I ended up back with them having the fucking time of my life during Mystic Mondari. So, all's well ends well. Anyway, my point is, you now can't make heroic harder. Because if you make heroic harder, then you just ICC to Cataclysm everyone. And that would be rough. So I don't really know what to do. But Mythic doesn't seem to be serving its purpose all the time.
No, like, to me, the solution is really dire.
I know what you want to do. He's going to kill Max. He's going to kill Scripe.
Yeah, tell the current Mythic reading community to,
go fuck themselves.
Stick something up themselves and go for it. And then bring Mythic down to a more tolerable level. That's more playable for other people. Yeah, go right. And how we have a 10 to 15 to 20 like Mythic. That's heroic. That basically is heroic hard mode.
Yeah.
Versus actually insane, months of prog difficulty. Because it is a little bit of like, what's the point? How many players are there? And I hate saying that because I never want to go to someone and go, oh yeah, well actually the way you're playing the game sucks balls. Fuck you. I don't ever want to literally really say that. I'll say it, but I won't always mean it. Obviously,
just happens to be that whenever they finally quit Mythic raiding, their life becomes better.
Yeah.
you know the jokes of like the future without Mythic raiding, and it's all the lovely utopia image. I don't know. Because, if you made Mythic to be a progression, from normal to heroic, from heroic to Mythic, but then you made competition. Yeah, it's called Competition 20.
That's the problem, right?
Which it feels like it feels like a very blunt solution to just retain current Mythic, make a new Mythic, and just call it competition mode for the guilds.
So, here's the struggle, right? When you're thinking about this as a game, more than like an MMO with all this different stuff, you go, right, it's a game. What are you designing? You're designing a progression. You're designing this little curve of progression of gear versus difficulty, and you want to do it in almost every kind of game wants to have a decent sense of difficulty curve where you go, well, it gets harder, but you can overcome it, and you get over it by a combination of skill and gear. Gear doesn't do it alone because we're adding mechanics as well as ramping up numbers, so you need to improve both. Which, right now, for the vast majority of the player base, the difficulty progression system literally does not work. It's it works for Mythic Plus, largely speaking, because there's no systemic changes and no massive jump in difficulty. Some of that is the gradation of M+, and maybe that's what they're trying with this other thing where with the dungeon changes where you do go, okay, we're going to go, heroic will be Mythic, and Mythic will be Mythic plus 10 and Mythic plus 10. So they are reducing that a little bit and spreading it out further. So to me, I feel like the issue is that normal and heroic don't lead to Mythic. LFR doesn't really lead to normal. Yeah. Because LFR half the time is a nothing can kill you unless you try. Normal is you still have to try to die. And heroic is kind of gameplay, but you can outgear it way too easily at the minute. And it's a little bit simple at times. Farak is such a simple boss. Dodge some stuff, kill some boys, do some orbs. I feel
simple as.
Yeah.
Hang on.
Do some orbs, but
North, raid, boss, tactic, infographics.
Fantastic. I like it. Yeah.
John, I think we should do that. Anyway.
Yeah. So you don't go from heroic to mythic, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just don't. You don't with the same group unless you're happen to be 20 anyway, which is unlikely considering you're probably not. And you're more incentivized to be like 12, 14, something like that. So you can't do mythic directly, which means the answer is to pull mythic back down to be part of the progression system.
Yeah.
And this is something I've been thinking about a lot, like playing Grand Blue Fantasy Relink and how much of a game that is like, and it's inspired by Monster, inspired by MMO stuff. But it's like, its whole thing is you get gear and you get better as you go. These bosses, like you're fighting the same boss on a higher difficulty. It sometimes does more stuff. I know at Proud there's a big jump with like unique boss fights, but like going from like extreme to maniac is everything is pretty much like slightly harder and your gear slightly better. So you do need to hit the literal progression, and you can make it slightly easier by like grinding out older stuff for better gear. But like the actual point of you progress the whole way to the end of the game is there. Whereas in WoW, it's like, it feels like the ability to go from heroic to mythic in rating is not there.
Yeah.
Mythic is an aspirational thing for very, very few, which is really struggling. And whereas M+, you can do that. M+, theoretically speaking, you can go do a plus 18 and be fine. Now, not everyone can do an 18.
To bring it to the fundamentals,
yeah,
it's changing difficulty within the same format.
Yeah, Mythic Plus is so much of a jump, it's outside the format as well. Like, it's outside of the format literally, but also the difficulty gap is too high as well.
Yeah, with Mythic Raid.
Yeah, not Mythic Dungeons. Mythic Dungeons are basically like not the perfect form because there's a little bit of jump affixes, and the scaling being like on a curve makes it rougher because it isn't 10%.
Oh, but still, there you're dealing with tuning rather than fundamentals.
Yeah,
like,
as well, yeah.
Fundamentally, LFR exists on its own. Mythic exists on its own. Normal and heroic have progression.
Yeah. So I feel like if you were to start from scratch and excluding the fact that there's an like a established scene with established skills and stuff, if you remove that and you go, well, what would you do from scratch? I think you would want to make a funnel that leads people to mythic, but the actual, like, the filter from heroic to mythic is just way too strong. It's, to use a really terrible analogy, just like you're making coffee and instead of filter paper, you just have just a steel, like just a bit of steel. And you're like, why am I not getting any coffee at the bottom? It's like, because you've just put a sheet of steel into as your filter, and obviously nothing getting through.
So there is another game that has
coffee
an answer.
water's pushing off the side, and you're like, what am I doing wrong? You need to make it filter paper, I guess, in a way.
Destiny 2 has a thing called contest mode.
Ah, the game that ruined the whole world.
Yep.
The game that ruined the games industry.
To give you an example, just in case, Matt and dear viewers, you are feeling like contest mode root of nightmares. You need 1780 power to be at the cap for all of the encounters. Contest mode. Contest mode will cap all players at 20 power below each encounter of the raid for a full 48 hours of the race.
Insane.
And then it just goes into a bunch of details that I do not understand whatsoever. Basically, my point is they have a thing called contest mode, and it seems that this is how they tried to get around this problem. Now, that said, in searching for contest mode, I did find a Reddit post that's like the next answer or next result in Google is a Reddit post saying, I wish contest mode wasn't a thing. That being said, it has 0 votes in Reddit and 38 comments, so who knows? Maybe it's wrong.
Ah, yes.
Also, contest mode happens only... Well, actually, this is a very different thing. Or this is a thing we should pay attention to. Reddit user Godavari says, contest mode only happens for 96 hours a year.
Nice.
Because in Destiny 2, there's no, like, 3-week-long race. Like, the contest mode's active for a small amount of time. For the contest. Then it, goes to regular game design after that. Look, I don't know what the solution is. And I'm sure everything we've talked about here and many other things we haven't have all been floated at Blizzard. And they're probably still looking for a solution. Because I definitely see it in, like, I think if you got a lot of them one-on-one, like, and you're maybe not talking about what we as individuals prefer, but you're talking about what would probably be the most rewarding and successful progression in the game, they probably wouldn't do it the way that it is. But it is the way that it is, and there's a lot of people who are invested in the way. Even if Mythic is struggling, there's still a lot of people invested in that. In some cases, very literally.
Yeah.
So that's the thing with the Race to World First. That shit is taken really seriously. And when you go to BlizzCon, you can see, there's Max and the Liquid Flock, and there's Scripe and the Echo Flock. I mean, in that case, it was like that because they were doing a competition thing about BlizzCon, I think. Were they?
Well, I'll explain it.
Were they? I think they
I
were.
Remember. Yeah, they were doing was it like the first boss of a major or something?
But like, that's some serious shit.
Yeah.
But so then, it's kind of funny because it's like Blizzard have got this version of, it's like you got Mythic pre-nerf and post-nerf.
Yeah,
like they literally have to nerf Mythic to increase the participation rates. Loads of Mythic guilds, a fucking pretty big percentage, are getting, well, the vast majority are getting nerf-assisted kills. So the thing is, Mythic doesn't even exist as a difficulty mode.
Yeah, Mythic is fluid.
Yeah. There's like the fluidity of a few weeks of rapid gearing, and then the fluidity of Blizzard hitting it with the Nerf hammer.
Yeah, Mythic weeks. Did you finish the guild on or the guild? Did you finish the raid on Mythic? I was a Mythic week. Mythic week 12 this time. Well, it wasn't as good as the Mythic week 11 last time. You're like, fuck.
So in that case, in one side of the game we have Mythic Plus, and another side of the game we have Mythic Minus.
Yeah,
it's just it's called Mythic Minus rating. Blizzard just
kind of weird.
Yeah, increments that every week. Well, and then we get right back to Ice Crown Citadel with fucking Varian and Thrall giving us a percentage more power every few weeks or whatever it was. That was a funny system. I mean, it was funny just because, the designer's hand could so easily be seen. So there's that.
Designer hand wasn't. We couldn't see the designer's hand. The designer's hand was still in while you're playing. Like, it's the equivalent of like you're sitting there eating your dinner at a restaurant, and the chef is just coming over and throwing bits of salt in. Just like, oh shit, yeah, actually there wasn't done. There's salt. Forgot to do that. Just like you're sitting there taking a bite of whatever, and they just like, actually, let me taste that. Actually, that's not quite done yet. Let me get some hot sauce right.